Hello fantasy managers and welcome back to another video from myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. The Premier League and FPL is set to come back in a couple of days now, and in this video we're going to go over my free hit team. Let's get to it. Okay, so here it is. And before we get into it, I should stress that this is a free hit team. If you're not playing your free hit and you're thinking about a different strategy, it might not be for you. Although having said that, if you're thinking of playing your wildcard in Gameweek 31, then this also might be useful because effectively it's going to be similar to a free hit team. I would strongly suggest that if you're unsure about your chip strategy going into Game Week 30 Plus and you want to know more around that, then please make sure to check out my chip strategy video. I'll leave a link in the description below and in the information card above. Okay, so this is my team, and I'm going to stress that this isn't a complete finalized team. I might make some last minute transfers. I'm going to be paying close attention to the upcoming press conferences, any little nuggets of information we get that. As I said, there's going to be a full roundup of the press conferences by our contributor Ben Dinnery on site. So make sure that you check that out. Very, very important information, especially considering we really don't have a lot to go on in terms of the form of the player or any other injury news that might have come out. So we're going to be paying close attention to that press conference. So this is very much dependent on that. So in that in mind, I'm going to go over why I've selected these players. I'm also going to touch on whether these players are locked into my side and, you know, barring a big injury update, they are staying there, or whether they're not 100% set in my team and I might make a last minute move. Also, just a cheeky reminder that we do have an exclusive 90-day free hub membership offer. So if you do want to check out any of the member resources that we have access to all of our tools completely free for 90 days, I'll leave a link in the description below and also in the information card above. Okay, starting off between the sticks then, and I've gone for Henderson. Now, it was a pretty close call between Henderson and Leno, actually. They're similarly priced, they've got similar stats over the season. Arteta's Arsenal has certainly shored up defensively over the last 8 matches since he's been in charge as well. So that kind of had to be taken into consideration. The reason I opted away from Leno just because I really struggled to see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet away to Manchester City. And if they can't keep a clean sheet, then is he going to get that many points? Yes, he might rack up a few save points, but I just fancy Henderson to get a few more points. The other reason is that obviously Arsenal have a really short 3-day turnaround between their fixture on the Wednesday and then playing again on the Saturday. That means that there's likely to be a lot of rest or rotation. They're likely to rotate some of their defense as well, so that's going to be a little bit unsettled. So I do kind of just struggle seeing them getting any clean sheets, actually. You know, that Brighton away match isn't going to be straightforward. Yes, Brighton don't score a lot of goals, but you know, they're going to be up for it. They're still, you know, battling out that relegation spot as well. So yes, potentially there could be a clean sheet in that Brighton match. And I do think that is a slight possibility. But overall, I just fancy Henderson more with that Aston Villa and Newcastle matches. I know those two games are away from home, and there's a little bit of a debate going on whether home and away advantage is still going to be present in the Premier League. To be honest, I do think that it is going to still be present. But even so, you know, Sheffield United have proven that they can go away from home and keep clean sheets. So that's why I've opted for Henderson over Leno. The other option I did slightly consider was Ederson, but as we'll come to later in the video, I do just want to load up on Manchester City strikers and forwards. As you'll see, I've gone for a Sheffield United triple up in defence. As I said, I think their defence is brilliant value. It's been great value all season, so I'm more than happy to go for the triple up and sort of roll the dice on there and hope that they can at least get one clean sheet. And, you know, if they come in with 2 clean sheets, then you're absolutely laughing. Stevens was a pretty easy pick. He's pretty nailed on in my team. He's, you know, he's got a little bit more about him than Egan and O'Connell from an attacking point of view. So just fancy spending a little bit extra on him. I think it will probably be worth it. Lindstrom, he's one that I wasn't sure on at the start, but, you know, just looking at the numbers and looking at how well he's performed, I do think that he's probably worth a gamble. He's far from certain to be starting both games, but you know, even if he can get around that 120 minutes mark, then I think he's going to be a really good pick. Part of the reason I think he's a good pick is because he's got most shots for defenders over the entire season. He's top with 38 shots. Trent Alexander-Arnold coming in with second there. It just means he's got so many different avenues for scoring points, and that's been reflected in the amount of points that he's got, the amount of points that he's expected to get. So I just think for the price and the fixtures that they have, and his attacking threat as well, I just think he's worth a gamble. You know, everyone knows that he's not nailed on in that team. And, you know, if I was picking a team for the rest of the season, I probably wouldn't have him in it. But for this particular double game week, I think he's probably worth a roll of the dice and hope that he can nick a cheeky goal or assist. The other player that I've gone for in defence is Matt Target. Now, would I go for him if he didn't have a double game week? Absolutely not. But, you know, he's got a little bit about him, got a little bit of threat going forward. He's pretty much nailed on in that Aston Villa side. my choice was over him or Mings, really, and I just thought that he's got a little bit more of attacking threat. I have actually got Mings in my side, but I won't be starting. He's going to be my first backup in case something happens and one of my starting 11 doesn't play, which I think is a real possibility. So I'm glad to have, a double game week player first on my bench. As you'll see, the other player in defense is Cathcart, and to be honest, he's just there to make up the numbers, but he will likely start. And if we do have a couple of people dropping out for whatever reason, then hopefully he might come in and get me a couple of points. But to be honest, I haven't really given that position a whole lot of thought, other than he looks like he's going to start and he's cheap. Moving on to the midfielder and strikers then. Now, I'm not going to go over the Man City assets in too much detail because they've kind of been done to death. I did them in a previous video as well of best picks for Game Week 30. If you're interested in more of my reasoning behind, Sterling, De Bruyne and Aguero, then I'll leave a link in the description and the information card above on more of my reasoning behind those picks and why I've decided to go for all of them. What I would say though is I took all the double game week players there are and I sorted them by expected points per start. Interestingly, Sterling is the one that comes out top. Obviously, his actual points per start have not matched Aguero and De Bruyne, but his expected points suggests that actually he's been a little bit unlucky, or maybe he hasn't necessarily been in form and sticking away those chances. But to me, that suggests that Sterling has a really high ceiling, and if he can come back fit and firing, then he's a player that I definitely want in my team. Interestingly, further down there, say you've got Lindstrom already talked about. He's coming in 4th. That's ahead of every other double game week player and coming in at 4.9. If he can get 1.5 starts, then he was going to more than make up for those potential loss of minutes. The other interesting player on this list is Jack Grealish. And again, I'm not going to go over him in great detail because I did in my other video, but just to say that he's a complete lock in my team. He is the talisman of Villa. Villa are scrapping out for a relegation. He's got good stats across the board. He's nailed on in that side. I think that's all you need to know. He's a lock in my team, and I really think that he should be a lock in your team as well. So that's Grealish, Sterling, De Bruyne, and Aguero. Absolute locks in my team, barring any late injury news. The other 3 players in Saka, Jimenez, and Aubameyang, I'm less certain on. Saka, of course, is very cheap, and he was performing very well before the break. I would say that, this isn't a player that I'm massively set on. I don't think he's going to get that many minutes. But, he is cheap. He does offer value, and it allows me to spend a little bit more in other areas. There are a few other options in this bracket that I have considered. Likes of Fleck from Sheffield United. I think that he's a good option. But as I mentioned, I'm quite keen on having the 3 Sheffield United defenders. I think that's where the most of the value lies. I am also considering a couple of the Aston Villa midfielders in El Ghazi and McGinn. The thing with El Ghazi is that he missed the last 2 matches before the break. And I'm not quite sure why that happened. There wasn't, it seemed to be that he just got dropped rather than there was necessarily an injury or anything. So that kind of has me a little bit worried for his game time. Similar thoughts around John McGinn. I think that he's a great pick, but again, coming back from injury, is he really going to get those minutes? So that's a position I'm not sure. And I could also go with one of the single game week guys, someone like Pulisic, or potentially also Mason Mount. I think they've got potential to score highly, playing against Aston Villa away from home. Not a bad fixture, coming in fairly cheap as well. At the moment, I'm leaning towards Saka just for those double fixtures, the fact that he did have showed some form and that he is only 4.7 and it's pretty good value. So I haven't got a lot to lose going for him, but that's definitely one of those positions that is a little bit up in the air at the moment. In terms of the strike force, I've gone for Aubameyang for now. He's fairly nailed on in my team. I do think he's going to be one of the Arsenal players that sees the most amount of minutes. Again, there's that short turnaround in Arsenal, which I am worried about. The other Arsenal player that I have strongly considered is actually Pepe. I've seen a lot of people not sure on Pepe, and I'm not sure on him either, otherwise he would be in my team. But I do think that he is a potentially really good option. His numbers under Arteta are very strong, and it's still possible that he could find a way in my team. I could potentially look at downgrading Aubameyang, upgrading Pepe, and also switching Saka to one of the Chelsea mids potentially. I have looked at that strategy. The other player I'm not 100% sure on, but I do quite like the look of, and is in my team currently, is Raul Jimenez. Now, he's got West Ham away. That's a pretty decent fixture. West Ham have known to be pretty leaky at the back. Jimenez was playing very well, and Wolves were in form before the pandemic. It's so difficult to know, what players are going to come back in form, what players are going to come back fit and firing. All I know, Jimenez could have been eating pies every day, and he could come back really out of shape. But, he is one of those single game week players that I do quite like the look of. The other player that I have considered in that Jimenez spot is Tammy Abraham. He's got Aston Villa away from home. I think that's a good shout. The other one that was in my draft earlier, I've since taken him out, is Samata. And he, you know, he potentially could find a way back into my team if I'm looking to free up a bit of budget. I don't rate him highly as a striker, and, you know, his numbers weren't anything to shout about before. You know, I personally would prefer Juan Jimenez over 2 times Samata. But, you know, if I'm looking to save a little bit of money, then I could potentially look to downgrade Jimenez to Samata and upgrade Saka to someone like Pepe. In terms of captaincy, I'm actually leaning towards Raheem Sterling. Regular viewers will know that I'm not having the best of seasons. And to be honest, I think that, you know, Sterling, he's got a high ceiling. He might be able to jump me up the ranks just in this final push. The other thing that made me think he's a good bet is he did, of course, score that hat-trick at the opening day of the season. So I'm hoping this is going to be, you know, kind of like the first day of the season, and maybe he can go and score a hat-trick as well. Obviously, you know, if you're doing well in your mini leagues and you're looking to secure your rank, then probably the safe bet is De Bruyne or potentially Aguero. I'm looking for a little bit more of a differential here, and I do think that Sterling has got really, really big upside, which is why I'm going for him. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you are subscribed and notifications turned on, and please hit that like button because it really does help the channel out. Bye for now.